I am going to tell you which two sentences I wrote. I have never told anyone. On April 24, 1990, at 10:14 in the morning, I stood in a federal courtroom in Manhattan and pleaded guilty to 6 counts of securities violations. Judge Harold Stern presiding. Southern District of New York. I read a prepared statement. The statement was 11 sentences long. My lawyers wrote 9 of them. I wrote 2. The statement expressed acceptance of responsibility. It acknowledged harm caused to market integrity. It committed to cooperation with ongoing regulatory reform. It did not name any specific act. It did not name any specific person. It did not name Ivan Brandt. The statement was approved by prosecutors, defense counsel, and the court. I signed the plea agreement at 11:47 a.m. Same courtroom, same judge. Different pen than the one I usually carried. The plea was for trading on material non-public information between June 1986 and February 1989. 14 separate occasions. Total improper gain across all positions, $83 million. I paid a fine of $210 million. I was sentenced to 10 years reduced on the day to 2, with possibility of further reduction. I reported to the federal facility in California on May 14, 1990. I was released on March 3, 1992. Daniel was 16 when I pleaded guilty. He was 18 when I was released. I did not tell him about the plea until he came home that evening. From school. He was in his final year at the American School in London. I had thought about how to tell him for 3 weeks, since the plea agreement was signed. I had rehearsed sentences. I had discarded all of them. He came home at 5:20. He put his bag down in the hallway. I was in the kitchen. I said I needed to tell him something. He came in. I told him. I used 32 words. I counted them later. I do not remember what most of them were. He said nothing. He went back to his room. I made dinner. Pasta. The kind he liked then. He came down at 7. We ate. That was the last ordinary evening. Earlier that day at 2:30 in the afternoon, I had returned to the Malkin Capital offices in Canary Wharf for the last time. Though I did not announce that. I cleared my desk. The process took 40 minutes. I left at 3:12 p.m. The building was still occupied. 340 employees. Trading floor was active. I did not make an announcement. I walked through the floor. I took the lift. I walked to my car. I have told the story of the plea many times. To journalists, to biographers, to regulators during the consultation period in 1992 and 1993. I know exactly which version I have told. The version that focuses on market structure, on regulatory ambiguity, on the difficulty of building something new within a framework designed for something old. That version is not untrue, it is incomplete. I am 78 years old. The Foundation Gala is in 6 days. Daniel has not replied to the invitation. I did not expect him to reply. I sent it anyway, because the record requires it. But the record also requires this. When I walked through the trading floor on April 24, 1990, at 3:09 in the afternoon, I did not stop. I did not speak. I knew every desk. I knew every person. Some of them had been with me for 15 years. Some of them had followed me from Philadelphia. Some of them had families I had met, children whose names I knew. I walked to the lift. I pressed the button. I waited. The doors opened. I got in. The doors closed. The wait for the lift was 43 seconds. I have thought about those 43 seconds many times since. I could have turned around. I could have said something. I did not turn around. I did not say anything. The doors opened, and I got in. That is the last thing I did as the person I had been for 19 years. I waited 43 seconds for a lift and got in. I do not find this adequate. I have never found anything more adequate. I took 3 things from the desk during those 40 minutes, while the trading floor was still operating 20 feet from my office door. The Marsh paper, the photocopy, 3rd generation, some footnotes barely legible, the paper I had carried since 1968, the paper that explained why debt could be priced by risk rather than by rating, the paper no one had published, the paper I had built everything on. The desk diary from November 14, 1986, the one with the 6:14 p.m. notation, the circled school play. The evening I sat in the back row and watched Daniel perform without telling him I was there. The evening I thought about on the drive to California 4 years later. And a photograph, not of Daniel, not of the trading floor, a photograph of the first bond I ever placed. March 1971, the Ohio packaging manufacturer. Someone had photographed the bond certificate as a gift when the deal closed. A small gesture. I kept it on my desk for 19 years, in the same silver frame, on the left side of the desk where I could see it when I looked up from paperwork. I took it with me. It is in the drawer now, the first drawer, with the Marsh paper and the diary and the filing from 1977 and the corridor letter. The drawer is full. I have a second drawer for the indictment, for the plea agreement, for the sentencing memorandum, for the letters I received during the 22 months. I have kept everything, except the things I should have kept. The 2 sentences I wrote are the 7th sentence and the 9th sentence in the 11-sentence statement. My lawyers wrote the opening. They wrote the acknowledgement of jurisdiction. They wrote the acceptance of the court's authority. They wrote the commitment to cooperation. They wrote the closing. I wrote 2 sentences in the middle. They tried to place them where they would do the least damage. The 7th sentence, I understood that what I was doing caused harm to people I never met and will never meet, and I am sorry for that harm in a way I cannot adequately express. The 9th sentence, I did not build what I built to cause harm, and I have spent 4 years trying to understand how those 2 things can both be true. The lawyers wanted to remove the 9th sentence. They said it sounded defensive. They said it would complicate the plea. They said the prosecutor would object. I said it was the only true thing in the document. They left it in. The prosecutor did not object. Judge Stern read the statement aloud before accepting the plea. He read all 11 sentences. When he reached the 9th sentence, he paused for perhaps 2 seconds. Then he continued. He did not comment on it. He accepted the plea at 11:52 a.m. Daniel read the statement. I know because I found it in his room in 2001, when he was joining the firm, when I was clearing space in the house for him to have a proper office set up at home if he wanted to work there sometimes. It was folded in an envelope in the back of a drawer I should not have opened, but I did. He had underlined the 9th sentence, in pencil, a careful line, and he had written 1 word in the margin. I will not say what the word was. It is his word, not mine to share. I have told you I thought about the school play on the drive to California. November 14, 1986, the back row. The moment I chose the filing over watching him perform, except I did watch him perform. I arrived late. I sat in the back. I did not tell him. What I did not tell you is what I thought about after I thought about the school play. I thought about Ivan Brandt. Specifically, I thought about a conversation in October 1989, 5 months before the plea. We were in his office. He said, "Michael, they are going to indict both of us. You know that." I said, "Yes." He said, One of us should take the deal. I said, I know. He said, it should be you. He said, you built this. You can rebuild it. I cannot. Your name means reform. Mine means excess. If I plead guilty, I am what they always said I was. If you plead guilty, you are a good man who made mistakes in a system that was not ready for what you built. He said, take the deal, do the time, come back, fix it properly. I said, what about you? He said, I will take what comes. Ivan Brandt was indicted on 7 counts in June 1990, 2 months after my plea. He went to trial in February 1991. He was convicted on 5 counts. He was sentenced to 8 years. He served 6. He was released in 1997. He died in 2004. Heart attack at his desk. He was 61. We did not speak after my release, not because of anger, not because of blame, because there was nothing to say that would not make what had happened smaller than it was. I have spent 33 years asking which sentence I meant, the 7th or the 9th, the apology or the confusion. Whether I was sorry for the harm or sorry that I still did not understand how I had caused it. The truth is, I meant both. And the truth is, that is not adequate either. Daniel's word in the margin, the word I will not share. I think about it often. I think about whether he wrote it in 1990 when I gave him the statement, or whether he wrote it later, in 1995 when I was rebuilding, in 1998 when he was at university, in 2001 when he joined the firm. I think about whether the word was kind or whether it was true. I think about whether there is a difference. The drawer is full now. 2 drawers. The marsh paper and the diary and the filing and the photograph and the plea agreement and the indictment and the sentencing memorandum. The material record of a life that tried to build something and built something else as well. In 6 days there will be a gala. Daniel has not replied. The invitation sits on my desk, next to the photograph of him. The photograph from 2003, before he knew. I told you I cleared my desk on April 24, 1990. I told you I took 3 things. I told you what they were. What I did not tell you is what I left behind. On the right side of the desk, where I kept current files, there was a folder, a plain manila folder. Inside the folder was a letter. The letter was addressed to Daniel. I had written it 3 weeks earlier, after the plea agreement was signed, before I told him. The letter explained everything: the structure, the financing, the Brandt relationship, the regulatory gaps, the choices I made, the choices I would make differently, what I hoped he would understand, what I knew he would not. The letter was 16 pages. I had rewritten it 11 times. I left it on the desk. I do not know why. Perhaps I thought someone would find it and send it to him. Perhaps I thought I would come back for it. Perhaps I knew I would never give it to him, and leaving it there was easier than destroying it. I do not know what happened to it. I have never asked. The offices were cleared in June 1990. Everything was boxed. Some things were forwarded to my lawyers. Some things were disposed of. I do not know which category the letter fell into. I have thought many times about rewriting it. I have started 4 times. I have never finished, because the letter I would write now is not the letter I wrote then, and the letter I wrote then is the one that mattered. Daniel is 49 years old now. He has spent 33 years knowing his father pleaded guilty to 6 counts of securities violations. He has spent 33 years with whatever word he wrote in the margin of the 9th sentence. I have spent 33 years asking which sentence I meant. I have spent 33 years asking what I left on the desk. 6 more days. The record requires the invitation. The record does not require that he come. The photograph on my desk is from 2003. Daniel is 29. He is wearing a suit. He is standing in front of the Malkin Capital building. The new building. Bishopsgate, not Canary Wharf. The photograph was taken on his first day. I was not there when it was taken. I was in New York, a regulatory meeting. He sent me the photograph by email that evening, with a message, 3 words. Made it in. I have looked at that photograph every day for 20 years. I have it in a frame. Silver, the same frame I used for the bond certificate. I moved the bond certificate to the drawer. I put Daniel's photograph in the frame. I look at it every day, and I think about the 3 words. Made it in. And I think about what he meant. Whether he meant he had made it into the building, or whether he meant something else. Whether he meant he had made it in despite me, or because of me. The gala is in 6 days. The invitation sits on the desk, next to the photograph. I have not moved either one. I have not moved anything on the desk in 6 weeks, not since I sent the invitation. I am waiting. This morning I opened the drawer, the first drawer. I took out the photograph of the bond certificate. March 1971, the Ohio packaging manufacturer. The first deal I ever closed. I looked at it for a long time. Then I put it back, in the drawer, with the marsh paper and the diary and the filing and the corridor letter. And I closed the drawer. I wrote 2 sentences, the 7th and the 9th. The lawyers wanted them removed. I said they stayed. They stayed. I have spent 33 years asking which one I meant. This morning I realized I have been asking the wrong question. The question is not which sentence I meant. The question is which sentence Daniel read. 6 more days. The telephone rang at 3:47 this afternoon. I let it ring 11 times before I answered. It was not Daniel. It was Margaret, Daniel's assistant. She has been his assistant for 9 years. She called me once before, in 2003, when Daniel was in the hospital. Surgery. Routine. She called to tell me he was fine. She did not need to call. Daniel had not asked her to. She called anyway. She said, "Mr. Malkin, I am calling about the gala." I said nothing. She said, "Mr. Malkin, Daniel asked me to call you. He wanted you to know he received your invitation." I waited. She said, "He wanted you to know he will not be attending." I said, "Did he say why?" She said, "He said you would understand." I said, "Did he say anything else?" She said, "He said to tell you he read both sentences." I put the telephone down. I did not say goodbye. I have never done that before. Not in 47 years, not once. I sat at the desk for 2 hours without moving. Both sentences. The 7th sentence, page 4 of the plea agreement, dated February 9th, 1991. The sentence that absolved the firm. The sentence that said the violations were isolated, contained, the work of individuals acting without authorization. And the 9th sentence, same paragraph. The sentence that listed those individuals by role, not by name, by role. Senior analyst, junior partner, administrative coordinator. 3 roles. 12 people in the firm held those titles in the relevant period. The regulators knew that. The lawyers knew that. Daniel knew that. But only one person held all three titles sequentially. Daniel started as administrative coordinator in 1987, January, 3 weeks after the school play, the one I watched from the back row, the one where he played the clerk, the small role, 6 lines. He delivered them perfectly. I remember every word. He became senior analyst in 1989. June. I recommended him. I told the partners he had earned it. They agreed. They agreed because I said so. They agreed because the deals he analyzed performed well. They agreed because he was good. He made junior partner in 1990, October, 4 months before the plea. I did not recommend him that time. Richard did. Harold did. Daniel earned it without me. But the 9th sentence did not distinguish timing. It listed roles. Anyone reading it carefully would see the overlap, would see the possibility, would ask the question. The question I spent 33 years asking myself. Which sentence did I mean? The 7th sentence protected the firm, protected our reputation, protected my life's work. That sentence was necessary. The lawyers agreed. The regulators accepted it. It was true. The violations were isolated. The 9th sentence protected specific people, named in earlier drafts, exposed, guilty. I changed it. I made it about roles instead of names. The lawyers asked why. I said it was more precise, more accurate. They accepted it. But it also did something else. It created a shadow over Daniel. Not a direct accusation, not evidence, just a shadow, just enough ambiguity that anyone looking closely would wonder, would question, would doubt. Daniel left the firm in March 1991, 5 weeks after the plea. He told people he wanted to start his own practice, build something independent. Everyone believed him. I believed him. Or I told myself I believed him. He never asked me about the 9th sentence, not once, not in 33 years. We spoke perhaps 40 times in those years. Funerals, weddings, professional obligations, brief conversations, courteous, distant. He never asked. And I never explained. The gala invitation. I sent it 8 weeks ago to 73 people. Colleagues, clients, partners, family. Daniel was the only family I invited. My brother died in 1998. My sister moved to Edinburgh. I have not spoken to her in 11 years. The invitation said, a celebration of 47 years, a reflection on legacy, an evening of gratitude. I wrote Daniel's by hand. On the back, 4 words. I owe you truth. I spent 6 days deciding whether to write that, whether to send it at all. I have his address because Margaret sends me his firm's newsletter every quarter. She has done that for 9 years. Daniel does not know. Or perhaps he does. Perhaps he told her to do it. I will never ask. I sent the invitation because I believed I had time. I am 79 years old. The doctors told me in April, 18 months, perhaps less. The cancer is aggressive. Treatment would buy time but destroy quality. I chose no treatment. Daniel does not know that either. Margaret said he read both sentences. Both. The 7th sentence that protected the firm, and the 9th sentence that cast shadow. I wrote them both. I fought to keep them both. I told the lawyers they were essential. They believed me. They trusted my judgment. For 33 years I told myself I meant the 7th sentence, the protection, the preservation. I told myself the ninth sentence was collateral, unintended, an accident of precision. But Daniel read both sentences, and he understood what I have never admitted. I meant both. I wrote the seventh sentence to save the firm. My legacy, 47 years of work, reputation, achievement. And I wrote the ninth sentence to save myself from watching Daniel surpass me. He was better than I was. Even then, at 31, the partners saw it, the clients saw it. Richard told me in 1990. November, he said, Daniel will run this firm one day. He has something you and I never had. Vision. I congratulated Daniel that night. I took him to dinner. I told him I was proud. 2 months later, I wrote the ninth sentence. I did not destroy him. I want that clear. The shadow I created was subtle, deniable. It did not prevent his success. He built a remarkable practice, respected, profitable. He made his own legacy. But I made certain it would be separate from mine. I made certain he would never run the firm I built. I made certain because I was afraid. The school play, 1987. I sat in the back row. Daniel was 29, too old for school plays. It was a community theater production, small. He volunteered, played a minor role. He did not tell me about it. I found out from Richard's wife. She mentioned it at dinner. Casual. She said Daniel was quite good. Natural. She seemed surprised. I went to the final performance. I did not tell Daniel. I sat in the last row, far right side. The theater was small, perhaps 90 seats. Maybe 40 people attended. Daniel had 6 lines. The clerk who delivers the message that changes everything. The small role everyone forgets. But he made it memorable. There was a moment. Near the end of his scene, he delivered the final line, turned to exit, then stopped, just for a second, looked back at the other character, said nothing, just looked. It was not in the script. I had read the script. Richard's wife gave me a copy. That look changed the entire scene, made it clear the clerk understood the weight of the message he had delivered, understood the consequences. The audience was silent, completely silent, for 3 seconds, 4 seconds. Then Daniel exited and they applauded. I left during intermission. I did not stay for the second act. I did not speak to Daniel afterward. I went to the office, 10:30 at night. I sat at this desk, this same desk, and I thought about that look. The look that showed understanding, awareness, vision. The look I had never managed in 47 years. 3 weeks later, Daniel joined the firm. 4 years later, I wrote the ninth sentence. Both sentences. He read both sentences. He understood both sentences. The gala is in 5 days. Margaret called today. Daniel will not attend. He said I would understand. And I do. I opened the first drawer again this evening, took out everything. The bond certificate, the Marsh paper, the diary, the filing, the corridor letter, Orador. And underneath, at the very bottom, the program from the school play, 1987. I kept it. Daniel's name is circled, blue pen, my hand, 36 years ago. He saw me, that night, in the back row, far right side. Margaret told me, not today, 9 years ago, the first time she called, when Daniel was in the hospital, after she told me he was fine, after I thanked her for calling. She said, "Mr. Malkin, Daniel talks about you sometimes. He said you came to his play, the one in 1987. He said you left at intermission. He said he always wondered why you left." I told her I had an emergency at the office. She said, "That is what Daniel thought. He said you always had emergencies at the office." She said he understood. But he did not understand, not then. He understands now. Both sentences. The gala is in 5 days. I will stand at the podium. I will thank 72 people for 47 years. I will talk about legacy and gratitude and the work that endures. There will be one empty chair. Front row, left side. The seat I reserved for Daniel. The seat he will never fill. Because he read both sentences. And finally, so have I.